Hi, Julie Jones with SSP Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week. And this week, we're talking about why it matters how and when we train our mindset. If you follow my tips, you know that I hurt my ankle before Christmas, was in a boot, a little fracture, and finally I'm out of it. Everything's going well. I get to the doctor, he says, you're good to go. That means it's time to run. So I ran. And it felt great. And in fact, it felt so good, I probably did a little too much. And then it didn't feel so great. And I stopped and thought about it. I thought, I did not help myself. As I got a little bit more into feeling normal with the boot and doing a little bit more exercise, I stopped doing the little things. I stopped doing the visualizations. I stopped doing my ABCs. I stopped doing the mental and physical things that would help me be ready when that day came and the doctor said, you can run. This got me thinking. If I, who knows what to do, I teach this stuff almost every day. If I can't stick to a routine of mental and physical training, how in the world are my athletes, the teams that I work with, how are these student athletes going to do what I know works and I can't even do myself? I'm a relatively disciplined person. However, I was obviously a slacker in this way. So I thought long and hard about how I was going to help them or help you help them stick to a routine. First of all, we know we have to get buy-in. Because one or two things are going to happen. Athletes are going to get into the game and they're going to realize, I'm doing all this mental training stuff and things still aren't going my way, so I'm going to give it up. Or they're going to say, I've done doing this mental training stuff and everything's going great. I don't really need to do it anymore. I'm good. I'm cured. Everything's good. Or even more importantly, or more concerning maybe, is that they get there and they're thinking, I don't need that stuff. And then they get under pressure and like, I need to be able to slow the game down. I need to have more confidence. I need to do these things. Maybe these mental tools would help me. But here I am now, I'm in crisis and there's nothing I can do about it today. So what can we do to help them? We think that learning about a mental tool will automatically make us better. And I don't know why we think that, but that is, like, maybe it's because we know that knowledge is power. Well, only applied knowledge is power, because clearly I know what to do. But if I didn't apply it, it wasn't going to help me, which it did for a while. And then all of a sudden it's like, I feel good. I'm good. And I could spend my time doing other things. So how do we get them to buy in? One of the first things I do with my athletes is have them look to see who uses mental training tools. This is a great time to get them to understand that. All you have to do is watch the Olympics and you can see the skiers at the top. They're going down through the moguls or the gates in their head before they get to it. In fact, it's been huge right now because their training has been so limited because of the weather and because of COVID. So getting athletes to see that it's good enough for champions in all walks of life, maybe it's good enough for me. But even if we have buy-in, hook, line, sinker, I buy in, hook, line, and sinker, and still couldn't stick to my routine. What can we do to help them? Well, one thing we can do is follow what BJ Fogg says in Tiny Habits and say, look, I do this already. So why don't I attach my visualization to every time I get up from my desk and fill up my water glass? That's going to be at least 6 times a day that I can watch myself run with power and strength, or jump rope with power and strength. If every time they pick up their phone, they play something from their highlight reel, right? Whatever their prompt is, it's an action prompt. I do this, then I do that. Because again, in Peak Mind, the author says, we can't get better in the moment. It's like someone asking you to help them move. You're in charge of moving the dresser and you realize you're not strong enough to do it. So you go over and do a couple push-ups. Well, you know that strength isn't you're not going to be strong enough from doing a couple push-ups all of a sudden to move the thing. In fact, you're going to be more depleted. It's the same thing for us. If we don't practice these things prior to the act that we need them in, we're not going to be able to do it. We don't practice, we don't train for war in war, we train for war in peace. So thinking about how we can add these things to our day during the day, so that when we get into pressure situations, they are habits that we use, or they're tools that we are familiar with and feel comfortable and help us be consistent. Then we're going to have a little bit of better chance of actually using them when the pressure comes on, because we don't rise to the occasion. We fall back on habits. So if we're building good habits, we'll be better in the end. If we can't see ourselves performing well when we're sitting at home or waiting for an appointment or whatever. We are never going to be able to do that when we're getting up to bat with a runner on third, bottom of the seventh, or shooting that game-winning foul shot. That's not going to happen in pressure if we can't do it when we're in times of peace, right? If we can't control our breath when we're laying in bed before we go to sleep, if we can't control our breath, and if we can't allow thoughts to come and go, productive thoughts, non-productive thoughts, if we can't do that when we're relaxed, we are never going to be able to do that before we step in to that situation on the field or on the court that is pressure packed. So building these habits, finding an action prompt. Every time I fill up my water bottle, I am going to do this. Every time I step across this line, I am going to do this. And then follow that. It will help us build good habits and build these tools into our daily routines so that they can help us when the pressure comes on. The other thing is that we know from other studies that a simple reminder, right? We talked about the military academy people. They were told, pay attention every 15 minutes. And that group did better than the other groups just because it brought us back. I read in a book somewhere that someone set something every 10 minutes, I set an alarm every 10 minutes to just bring them back to the moment to say, what am I focused on? What do I need to do? A reminder, are you seeing yourself do what you want as opposed to do what you are trying to avoid? Or can you right now take a deep breath and lower your heart rate and get yourself back into rest and digest and out of fight or flight? We can help ourselves with this. We can set alarms. We have a clock on our watch, right? We have an alarm on our watch. We have an alarm in our pocket in our phone all the time. You as the coach can be that reminder for your athletes. They can set up their calendar to help themselves. This isn't all on us. They've got to have the buy-in, as we mentioned. But if we can help our athletes set places in their day where they're working on these tools and practicing them in practice before they get in the box, before they step to the line, before they shoot a penalty kick, if they can practice these things in practice, they're more apt to use them when stress comes on. If we don't practice, we won't be good at it. We wouldn't expect to go in and throw a pitch that we just learned yesterday to a great hitter tomorrow or today. So how we train, when we train, is vital to our peak performance. Find action prompts, build habits, set reminders, help be the reminder, use accountability groups, whatever it might be. But training is key. Just because we know something doesn't mean it's going to help us. I know a lot about mental training. I failed. How can we help our athletes avoid that pitfall and get themselves in a position to free their talent, to get out of their own way and go and play to the best of their ability? That's the question. How we train and when we train matters. If you'd like to learn more about topics like this, visit my website at ssbperformance.com. More mindset tips are there at ssbperformance.com/blog. Send me an email. I have a 5-minute mindset program that will help your athletes stay on track. And if it's for athletes, individuals, whatever works for you. If you'd like to talk more about that, shoot me an email at juliej@ssbperformance.com. I'd love to get your team involved with that. Monday, Wednesday, Friday exercises that forces them to think about their mental progression, their mental training, their mindset. It's very helpful to performance. I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, have a great week.